shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. His life is good, yeah!
Hickok45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the rainy hills of Middle Tennessee. Yes, Tennessee, the home of Alvin York and Dolly Parton. A little rainy, but the hills are becoming a little greener than they have been. Very slowly, but things are budding out. It's looking better. Speaking of Dolly, I happened to see her interviewed on Imus in the morning. I guess this weekend. I think it was a best of Imus. And I have not been a regular watcher of Imus. I forget about him. I didn't know where he was or that he was on TV and had a simulcast, whatever they call that. But he's kind of interesting, especially when they're doing a best of, I guess, because they show all of his interesting interviews. But kind of a quirky, grumpy old man sort of feller. And so, and I think he's gotten into a little trouble with his tongue, saying some things that he shouldn't have in past years. But interesting fellow, kind of throws it out there, and apparently has learned from some of his past mistakes. But it's kind of a weird show, radio show, just quirky enough that I find it interesting. I have to remember to check him out every now and then, depending on he's who he has on the show, I guess. And that's kind of the case with a lot of shows, isn't it? Which hadn't even thought about talking about that, but it's one of my pet peeves sometimes. And there are podcasts, there are radio shows that are, gun related that I think could be so much better if sometimes they wouldn't just, be interviewing everybody under the sun and every company under the sun and just talk about firearms. And I don't know. It's easy for me to say. I typically don't do really interviews. I don't know if I'll evolve into doing that sometime or not. I think I'll let John do that. He enjoys doing that. This is really not a radio show, pure radio show, obviously. That's just what we named it. But I just yak about a few things. But some of the podcasts that I listen to, I enjoy some people sitting around talking about firearms, about specific firearms or firearms issues, gun rights issues. Bill Frady, for example, he doesn't on Lock and Load. He doesn't interview somebody every 5 minutes. He does, but a lot of times he's just talking about the various issues going on, and that is not some people's cup of tea either. But I don't know. I'm a little like John. I get a little weary of listening to gun talk people when all they're doing is interviewing somebody who's got whatever, a company or something. They're always promoting something just all the time. A little of that's fine. That's how you learn about some products, or they wouldn't be brought to you. The gun TV channels and all that. I mean, it's all based on, it's all product driven. And I think we all know that, and we kind of accept it for what it is, just like the magazines. We learn about new products that way. We do. And we don't expect total objectivity if, they are paying the advertising and they're supplying all the firearms and they're the only reason that show exists. But still, it's nice to hear folks talk about firearms and their experiences with firearms. So I'm interested in that, even if it's an amateur, someone who's fairly new to firearms. That's kind of neat. It's refreshing to hear people get excited about things that are new to them in the firearms world and all of that. But anyway, I digress. I enjoyed hearing Dolly Parton interviewed. Every time I hear her interviewed, I'm impressed all over again with what a delightful gal she is. Gosh, she must be 75 now. And with all the, I guess, facelifts and makeups and wigs, she still looks 35. It's funny. But she still has a great voice, and she's just seems like a genuine, delightful person, and she's hard not to like. I tell you, maybe it's all an act, but who knows? Before I wander too far afield, let me remind you of the meet and greets coming up. And the big one is, of course, this weekend at the NRA convention in Nashville. Good reason to come to Nashville. I joke about you're coming to our meet and greets wherever you live. Denmark, South America, should be there. Well, the NRA convention, that is an event that's worthy of some travel if you're in the mood to travel and don't have anything else to do this week, because it is the biggest gun show in the country that's really open to the public, or at least anybody that's NRA member or willing to join. So it's huge, and it's in Nashville. It was on for 3 or 4 days, so hope to see you there. We will be at the Federal booth on Saturday, the 11th, from 4 to 6. Okay, and we'll be around the exhibit hall, off and on the whole time. So hope to see you there. And then, of course, on was it April 25th, we will be at Elks Outdoors in Pleasant View, Tennessee, from 11 to 2. So hope to see you there. It's just right off I-24 at exit 24 between Clarksville and Nashville, and it's just 30 seconds off the exit there on Main Street, right downtown. The old part of town there is kind of neat. You take Highway 49 into Pleasant View, take a right on, I believe it's Main Street, and it's just right there, down there across from the firehouse. So anyway, hope to see you at the NRA convention, and you'll enjoy that, whether you're a huge NRA supporter or not. And I know that brings out the NRA haters. So as I have said many times, they're a big organization. They're a necessary evil, just like most or a lot of large organizations. That maybe the company you work for, you look at it as a necessary evil. You wouldn't have food on your table if it were not for them. And most of the time you enjoy your job, but there are times you want to just leave, right? Take this job and shove it, and etc. And that's just the nature of organizations in general. And the bigger they get, the less satisfied we are going to be with everything they do. It's just the way it is. However, the gun rights organizations, all of them, including the NRA, have done a lot of wonderful things for us. And even with their warts, they are a necessary evil. Who are you going to go lobby? Am I going to go lobby Washington and hire teams of lawyers and get things straightened out for our congressmen and senators? Yeah, not going to do that, are we? But anyway, there's always a good reason to keep the money in your pocket and not join them. And you'll probably see comments like that on this video to that effect. There will be people who just do not join, and the rest of us are pulling the wagon, and they don't care because they've got a beef with the NRA, something they did 20 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever. And it may be fairly legitimate. I'm not really criticizing them for that. It could be. It's just on balance. We don't have a choice. We've got to support the gun rights organizations. It's crazy that there are well over 100 million gun owners. And the biggest gun rights organization is the NRA, and they just have 5 million members. I don't know what the Gun Owners of America have or Second Amendment Foundation, but it's not that big for sure. So there's a lot of people riding in the wagon, no doubt about it. So anyway, do what you can and check yourself. Make sure you're not just rationalizing. And, in some ways, it's a little bit of that with that kind of that hipster attitude, I think, where we all have some of that, where if it's something everybody else is seeming to do, we want to be different. It seems to give us a little power, makes us feel good if we can feel smarter than everybody else. All these other zombies are just mindlessly joining the NRA or other gun rights organizations, but I, being smarter than anybody else, know how they really are inside, and I do not join. I am not a joiner because I see the light. I know the truth, So anyway, whatever. But well, we need as many members as we can in every organization, including especially the state organizations, like Tennessee Firearms Association. Most states have one, so join them, send some money, and it does help. It really does. Now I am not a member. Well, I'm a member of the NRA. I'm not any part of their board or anything like that. I don't work for the NRA. As far as I know, they don't even know I exist. It's just I just send them my $35 every year or whatever it is. I think the last time I joined for a 3-year period. But so anyway, I hope to see you there. Speaking of firearms, I have a beauty in front of me. You want to hear it? I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I'm opening the cylinder and closing it back up on a cute little revolver. Let's snap it. Yeah, it's a Model 65 Smith& Wesson. You've seen it in some 357 Magnum videos a couple of times, I think. And I don't know that we've ever done a video just on this model, and nothing else. I need to look through there because we're gonna need to do a video, chapter 2 or the first video, whatever we want to call it. But I don't think we've given it the attention it deserves. I like this revolver. It's a little 3-inch bull barrel. It's a heavy barrel, Model 65. For y'all who do not know, that is a K-frame Smith & Wesson, and that's kind of the mid-size frame. The same as the Model 19, the Model 13, and various and sundry Smith & Wessons has no adjustable sights. It just has fixed sights on it. In fact, the rear sight is just kind of cut into the frame, and you got a ramp front that I've painted orange. And it's a hammer model. I've got boot grips on mine, and I've also ground down the hammer, so it's kind of kind of an internal hammer. It's kind of a mix, and it's just a cool little gun. If I were going to carry a revolver and nothing but it, holster gun, this would be it. And I have carried it, and I may carry it some more. I'm reminded every time I get it out what a cool little carry gun it is, and what a shootable gun it is. So, and of course it's that all-purpose 357 Magnum cartridge, which is really hard to beat. I would highly recommend, for those of you who maybe have not purchased a revolver yet, unless you're looking for a little pocket revolver, there's lots of great little revolvers out there, or you need one that's lighter, smaller, or for some different application. I would highly recommend a 357 Magnum for anybody, for everybody. It's a no risk recommendation. It's like recommending a Glock 19 or something. You're going to like it. It's that simple. It's just a matter of how much you like it or how perfect it is for you, depending on the size. And the 357 Magnum has some serious punch. I mean, there are folks who will attest and will proclaim it all you need. Even maybe, well, I don't know about dangerous game. Depends on how dangerous it is. But what you need when you're facing a bear or something like that is, it's come down to slinging lead. Okay, you've tried everything else, bear spray, singing to it, or whatever it might be, but penetration becomes king with those big animals like that are attacking you. It's a little bit like a self-defense situation. Well, it is a self-defense situation, or you wouldn't be shooting it, right? You're not hunting bears. You're just minding your own business, and maybe you're attacked by one. Well, when that happens, unless you have some howitzer or something, about the only thing that's going to take care of you is something that will penetrate sufficiently, really through the brain, basically. You're not going to wound it fast enough by, causing it to bleed to probably save your life, unless it's so far away you shouldn't be shooting at it anyway. So you're going to have to penetrate the skull. I know it's not a pleasant thought, but that's just a fact of life. if you got a grizz after you or something like that, you're going to have to get to the brain, okay, the brain stem, the spine, and penetration is everything. You know, a lot of people carry a hard cast bullet, some kind of solid round that will penetrate in that sort of situation. And a 357 Magnum, and hard cast bullet will definitely penetrate. Maybe even better than a 44 or 450. I don't know about better than a 454. You get up to that level, and 500 Magnum, you get so much power, behind it that it ought to penetrate. But a 357 will definitely penetrate, and it's hot round. And the fact that it's a little smaller is not necessarily that big a deal is the thing. That's what some people will talk about. I'm an expert in it myself or anything, but I've read a lot about all this. And the thing you get with a 357 is a lot of penetration. And how much better is a 44 going to be as it enters the brain of Mr. Grizz than a 357? All right. 44 is 43 caliber, really. 357 is basically 36 caliber, but a piece of lead, pretty big in either case, going into the brain, I don't think it's going to matter, really, if the diameter is a little different. So anyway, I don't know. I'm not recommending it to be your bear protection or anything, but you could do worse. And then you can shoot those 38 specials in it, and they are, I mean, you can just, as I do in the videos sometimes, you can just switch back and forth to where you got something so pleasant to shoot that you want to shoot it all day. So wonderful cartridge, and there are a lot of great guns chambered for it. And the next time we do a video on this gun, I'm going to talk about some of the history of this, because I have been communicating. Well, I was in communication several months ago with a fellow who saw it in a video and was telling me that he's I think a retired DEA agent, and that it was the gun they carried. And he gave me some information about that and when they picked it up and why and in what circumstances, and then how the FBI picked up the same gun in blue, which is a Model 13. And it kind of started with the 65, it sounded like. Anyway, this guy was there. So he has a lot of experience, so it's kind of interesting. Speaking of that, good old revolver, whatever the caliber is or cartridge, it occurred to me recently that sometimes I think maybe all of us obsess a little too much about the perfect carry gun. And, so much of the shooting we do is not necessarily with our carry gun. And in fact, a lot of shooters don't carry a gun except to the shooting range. And in many countries, it's not even an option. Some of you listen to me across the big ponds and north and south of us, and I hear from you every day all over the planet. Carrying a handgun for defense is just, or for any reason, is not an option. So you probably grow a little weary of our obsession over here with that. Sorry about that. I know that, and especially for me, because even though I do have a lot of guns that are not carry guns that I enjoy immensely, quite a few of the firearms I view through that prism, and I talk about them in terms of carry. I realize that, but you just have to filter that out, right? If you can imagine, if it is a firearm that you're going to carry or might carry, that does weigh heavily on how you use it, and the size of the gun, the cartridge, and all of that. So bear with us as we obsess over that. And because it is an option in this country, in most states, it becomes a big factor. So I know, and I know personally, myself, I have always been really impressed with a firearm that qualifies as a good carry gun for all the reasons that one would: size, power, the portability, the weight, and everything. I have always been, the holy grail for me for a long time has been a pistol, a handgun that is small enough to carry. It would make a great, defensive pistol, but yet it's not too big and not too heavy. Has a suitable cartridge. I can shoot it okay. I can shoot it well, hopefully, and yet it's still a nice range gun. To me, that's the holy grail. And I have found that in several firearms. Well, this revolver I was holding, let me pick it up and hold it again. That is one of those guns that fits into that holy grail category in a way. I could shoot that firearm and enjoy it at the range just all day. If we went to the range and we shot for 2, 3 hours, I could thoroughly enjoy that. I'd shoot a lot of different types of cartridges, crank down to some 38s, some weak 38s, back up to magnums, and try it at different distances. And because it's just really a shootable revolver. You've probably seen that in videos. I have shot it in a couple of videos at least. And 3 inches in the barrel, especially a bull barrel, that, that's nice. It dampens recoil. It makes it more like a 4 inch, maybe more like a 5 inch. I don't know, but it's plenty of weight, easy to shoot well, and it's also a great carry gun. If it was the only firearm I owned, I would be very well armed, and I would have a great gun for the range. Okay, I wouldn't want to settle for just one gun, but firearms like that have just always really appealed to me. They're very, very practical, but they're also a lot of fun to shoot. Some firearms that you can carry, like a little LCP Ruger and some of those, they're not as much fun at the range, right? Derringers and those sorts of things. They're interesting firearms maybe, and they might be a decent carry gun, but they're just not the kind of firearm let's go out and shoot the Derringer. I've got 500 rounds of ammo here. We've got 2 or 3 hours to blow, so let's go shoot the Derringer or the LCP as many times as we can. See if we can hit the barn door from 10 feet. So a firearm that will reach out, but yet you can almost carry it in your pocket, like a Glock 26 or 27. Wow, there's another holy grail right there. Glock 26 or 27, and almost any firearm in that size. You can look at the M&Ps in that same size category. Rugers, anyone who makes a lightweight firearm in that size, that it could actually be a pocket revolver, but yet it's still a great shooter, and that's very desirable. So folks, if you're somewhere where you cannot carry and it's just not an option, that's one reason that some of us obsess a little, maybe too much, over firearms like that, because they're kind of the best of both. Well, they're not the best of both worlds, but they're one of the best of the carry world, and they're also great little shooters. I think I've demonstrated that a few times. That was one of the things I wanted to show early on in doing these videos, in terms of dispelling myths that those little guns shoot just fine. If you work with them a little bit, you can just amaze yourself at what you can hit. That's one of the reasons early on we did several of those 230-yard shoots at the Gong over there with handguns, just to show, if you didn't know that, and I'm not the only one who can do that, you can probably do that. You set something up at 200 yards, you'd be surprised what you can hit if you just hold it on target. Take your time. So anyway, we do, I know though, obsess too much with that, because a lot of the joy in shooting is just going to the range and shooting. And a lot of the, I don't know, the parameters, the restrictions that I put on ideal firearms, they're not that important if it's just a range gun. They're really, and I realize that. I just like for them to be able to fit both purposes, I guess. Even the bigger guns, whether it's something as big as a Glock 17, or a CZ75, even if it's a bigger gun, I still like a firearm where the controls are fairly small and smooth, no rough edges, something you can stick in a holster, even though it's a larger firearm. So I know we talk about that way, way, way too much. because many of you, you're just looking for a good range gun, and and maybe something to keep in the home for defense. And a lot of countries you can't carry it, but you can have a firearm in the home. And so, yeah, a lot of it does apply. But in that case, a holster is not as big an issue. A holstered firearm, in terms of wearing it, is not as big an issue. So, some of that does apply, and then some of it doesn't that we talk about all the time. I have a new microphone. I hope it's working okay. I hope it doesn't sound as though I'm screaming at you. I was having trouble with the one I'd been using. John gave me, and here with Audacity. So I picked up another. It's a headset microphone, and finally got it configured to where it's working. It seems to be. So hopefully it's not too loud and blowing your ears out with fuzzy talk. Maybe fuzzy thoughts, but hopefully not fuzzy sound, fuzzy talk. Again, the only reason I do these is because it's easy. Well, that's not the only reason. Some of you seem to like them, so I want to do them. But if it weren't easy, I wouldn't do it. And it's, the videos and everything else is the main part of the project. And this is just a chance to visit with you, even though you just won't talk back at me for some reason. And so I'm not going to probably, do a lot of the stuff John does at all. Or we'd already been doing that, but John's doing a great job. I'm it's fun to see him really getting into the radio side of it and what he's doing. He's worked all that out and got his on iTunes and everything, and he's been interviewing folks, and he's trying to interview people that, as I was talking about earlier, I'm into. Uh, Folks that are a little bit different in the firearms community or not in the firearms community, which is good. He really has a strong belief and mission there. He does not want to just sit around and talk to people in the industry and learn about another product they're trying to sell us. He doesn't want to do much of that at all. He might end up doing a little of it, but he's interested in interviewing people on the anti-gun side, the liberal side, the conservative side. I know he was communicating with the moms demand action or something there for a while. The local chapter was going to maybe get them on, and I don't decided against it. Maybe, I'm not sure, but he, he's really reaching out to people, and I think he's doing a pretty good job. Wow. Got out from behind the camera here recently and has been in front of it, and he's really into this radio thing. So it's kind of fun to watch him grow and do what he's doing. He's his own guy, and so whatever he wants to do within reason, he can do it. So it's kind of fun. And I think he's right. It is good to talk to people and present something a little bit different and get some different points of view. He's got a different point of view on some things than maybe a lot of shooters. But as is part of his mission and part of mine too, we really do need to let a lot of people under this umbrella, because again, the shooting world, I don't think so much now, but it has been, at least the image of it has been just, like me. It's like, it's old guys like me. I'm kind of the stereotype of the shooting industry, right? Old white guys with their revolvers and their shotguns. And I don't really fit the stereotype, I don't think, as much as maybe I appear to. I mean, I am an old guy in the woods with his guns. That's what the anti-gunner side likes to think, and that's how they like to portray all of us as rednecks in the woods with our shotguns and waiting for the revolution, or hoping there's going to be one, or hoping we get a chance to shoot somebody. That's what they like to think or like to portray us as. And of course, we know that's also stupid. But there are a lot of shooters that from all political parties and across the board. And yeah, I know. I know. I've seen comments or people just, uh, you know, make a pretty good point. You have to say, look, if you might be a liberal and like guns, but if you're voting for certain people, you're not doing anything for the cause. Well, that's invalid point, of course. But then again, as John points out, would you rather have someone who is really far left, maybe off the scale to the left, who owns guns, or that person, off the scale to the left, not owning guns? More people who have them, the better. As one of my main points, again, is that if you put guns in somebody's hands, get them to the range, and they learn to enjoy shooting, they're going to be more and more, they're going to grow more and more resistant, I think, to some of the controlling aspects of maybe the folks they are voting for. And we never know who people vote for. If you're not in the booth with them, you don't know. Lots of voting, uh, uh, or lots of this business, it comes down to who you hang out with and whether somebody's wants to be identified as a liberal or a conservative. We all might be rather surprised if we could see who some people actually, pull the lever on when they go in to vote. Might really be surprised when it gets right down to it. I don't know. So maybe it's wishful thinking, but some of these folks who appear to be real lefties, maybe they're not. And maybe owning those firearms and enjoying them at the range, and seeing some of the politicians that they have helped elect in the past trying to take those guns away from them, perhaps it makes them think a little bit when they get into that voting booth, and they gradually, change their voting patterns. I don't know, or they're on the phone and on the email to those politicians, letting them know exactly what they think about some of these issues. So anyway, it's all good if somebody is enjoying the shooting sports wherever they are from and whatever their political party. It's a good thing, and it's not a conservative issue. It's not a liberal issue. It is a freedom issue, and it's just what it really comes down to in my book. It's people wanting to control other people. It's folks not understanding the Second Amendment, the Constitution. It's people, that cause all these problems. It's folks, again, wanting to control other people, and and now we all do that to some extent. That's what I guess societies are about. But it's controlling folks where they don't need to be controlled. It's controlling folks on issues just because we would like people to think like we do. Again, if it's not bothering you, isn't it a little bit arrogant? If it's not bothering me, I'm just a little bit arrogant if I'm expecting somebody to change his or her behavior just because I wouldn't do it or I wouldn't like it. If it's not affecting me, uh, I think we need to reevaluate sometimes. It's hard to give that up sometimes, but yeah, it's a different world, and people think differently. The internet is changing things. You can't fool folks anymore, and they're going to think the way they want to think. It's just a totally different world now, and the gatekeepers are more or less gone. The information is out there. Yeah, we pretty much try to stay away from party politics and everything. And I've told you, I think in a libertarian vein. I'm not a libertarian, capital L. I don't really belong to any party, and but I usually come down on the side of freedom, whatever it's for, and try to be consistent. That's the main thing. I see a lot of inconsistency in people. A lot of folks don't want to be controlled in one area, but yet they're wanting to control folks in another area. So it's a lot of hypocrisy out there, and I I don't know. It just seems to me a more libertarian point of view is less hypocritical. It's just that simple. But it depends on how much a person values freedom for himself and for others, and how tolerant we can be of other people, even if we find something obnoxious, something that's really obnoxious to us, but yet it's not really affecting us other than the fact we think it's obnoxious. And even when it comes down to health or anything else, you get right down to it. Here I am. Well, I'm not getting political, but I don't know. I just always have been a little bit stubborn on things, I guess. I just think it's silly for people to control other people and try to control other people if there's no real reason it's not affecting them. I, for an example, I may have talked about this, but I used to travel a lot in the 80s, and I always wore my seatbelts. I was in the car driving, and a lot. And I didn't like seatbelts. Back in the 70s, a lot of people never wore them really, but I started wearing them. I don't know when it was, late 70s, early 80s. So I started driving a lot more. I just always got in the habit of putting it on. I figured, okay, it's a little safer, and plus I got into something or I went off the road and I'm in some ditch and I'm being bounced all around. Maybe maybe I can maintain control of the car a little bit better if I'm still at least in the driver's seat. I don't end up in the passenger side or in the back seat because I'm being bounced around. So I just thought, okay, this makes sense. And but I really resented it when it became a law. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be told to wear a seatbelt. I don't want to be told to wear a motorcycle helmet. I'm going to wear one, but it's crazy to be told to. I mean, duh. Why don't we just tell people, no, you can only have one helping of that mashed potato and gravy stuff, or you can't eat more than one McDonald's burger a day or a week. I mean, if we're going to control people to control their health, well, let's go all the way. So that's just me. I know it sounds, maybe it's quirky to you, but it seems consistent to me. And I know the old argument always comes up. Well, yeah, but you're paying for that person's brain repair if they don't wear that helmet on their motorcycle and they have a wreck, da 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 da. Well, that's because the insurance companies and the healthcare system and everything else. That's not that's crazy. We need to restructure that. If I'm paying for his head injuries, uh, maybe if you ride a motorcycle and you choose to not wear a helmet, then you pay an extra rider, just like a smoker when they buy life insurance or something, you just pay more. Or if you're a guy buying life insurance, you just pay more because you don't live as long or your risky behavior or whatever it is. If you're 23 and your car insurance is higher if you're a male for a reason, that's just put that tab on the person. If you or it doesn't have to be up front. If you have an accident on your motorcycle and you were not wearing a helmet, then the coverage is not as good. I don't know, do something. If we're really worried about people, then everybody who gets in a car should have a helmet on. How many people suffer from head injuries in car accidents? A few million. So anyway, so we're so inconsistent, aren't we? I'll get off that rant. Like I told you, I don't think I fit the stereotype of an old white guy in the woods in the South with his guns. I may look like that, but I really don't. I cut my teeth on Henry David Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson when I was very, very young, and I don't know, a little bit more of a free thinker than a lot of people probably would think I am. But at the same time, I am not going to try to control you and turn you into a free thinker. You have the right not to be a free thinker. You have the right to not be a deep thinker. Not to imply I am a deep thinker, right? You've seen my deep woods thoughts. They're not too deep. I can think pretty shallowly at times. So think how you want to think. Just don't tell me how to think. How's that? To sum it up. Oh, I wanted to mention something too in this radio show that we'll be doing pretty soon. We get guns from well various sources. We've been fortunate, and again, it's because of you all, the audience, the size of the audience. We have folks willing to send us guns, not manufacturers, but gun shops especially. We've taken a few from manufacturers, from small manufacturers, but where they don't put us in a I don't know any bind because we want to remain totally independent, which we're going to be anyway. It doesn't matter where we get a firearm, but from gun shops usually, distributors or somebody, someone who sells a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's the ideal situation as we see it. And like for example, Buds or the Gun Parlor or anybody that's Top Gun Supply, we've gotten guns from various sources. They don't, they don't make firearms. They don't make the firearms that we get from them. It's our choice what we want from them usually, and so they don't care what we think about it. They send them to us because then they will give an honest appraisal of it, and that's why they like us. Buds especially. That's why they like us. That we're honest about firearms, and they don't make any firearms. They sell thousands of different kinds of firearms, and it couldn't care less if we hammer some specific gun or if it doesn't work, whatever. But anyway, we've been fortunate in that we have gotten several guns, donated from those companies, and what we're going to do a little bit of a change up with Buds. We'll get a gun from them or request it, and then maybe there's another gun or two we really need to get our hands on. Can't seem to get them from the manufacturer as a T&E, and if, well, we could get one from Buds maybe. We just got an $800 gun from them. Maybe, well, we'll see. Maybe we get that. Well, anyway, there's a little hesitation sometimes, even though Buds has been very generous, and some other outlets as well. What we decided to do, make a long story short, is most of the guns we get from Buds, we've got kind of a deal now. Well, deal's not the right word, I guess, but we've got a situation. What we're going to do is we're going to just take most of the guns from Buds as T&E guns and just send them back. Because lots of times it's not a gun we need to keep, want to keep, not sure what to do with it. We end up trading them sometimes for another gun we want to review, and it just it's used and it's not worth that much. And so what we're going to do is send them back and let them sell them. And they're big on auctions up there, so they're going to auction them. Okay, guns that we use in videos, and not for us. I mean, we're not going to make anything off of it. It's just for them, and they make a little extra. Fine. If they don't, fine. They're not really doing it so that they can sell a used gun and get another $100 more than they'd normally get. My gosh, they sell thousands and thousands of guns every week, so that's not an appealing thing to them. They just want some of the Hickok45 guns back and to put up in their auctions. They think that'd be cool, and so we like that idea. It gets them out there if somebody wants one, but mainly the reason we like it is the guns will be essentially not a well, how shall I say, they're not going to be an expense to Buds. They'll get probably most of their money back on them. And so we will be able to feel free to request just as many as we want or can do. Okay, so we won't hesitate to request a firearm that we want to review that they have, because it's almost no cost to them other than shipping and everything, and maybe occasionally the sale of it will make up for that, but it's not a big deal. So anyway, that we're going to be doing that with a lot of them. I think the first one I think is going to be the Chiappa Rhino that we just got from them recently. We're going to send it back to them and let them auction it off. And the cool thing too is they've agreed to cut 10% off the top, whatever it sells for, to our favorite charity here, the Second Harvest Food Bank in Middle Tennessee. So 10% will come off, and a check will go to the Second Harvest Food Bank. All right, so do a little good, and it'll make it easier for us to get about any gun we want that Buds has. So anyway, that's where that's going. Just want to mention that so you're not thinking that, oh God, Hickok's trying to get that last dollar out of somebody on that gun. No, we're not going to get it. I mean, honestly, we had nothing. I won't even follow it. I don't care what they sell them for or what somebody buys them for. That's up to the buyer. So we'll just help authenticate that was the one we used, and that's it. So we're finished with it on our end. Once we send it back to Buds, okay, and we can feel free to order more. So that's something coming up. We're going to try that. I can't think of any reason why that won't work. Makes sense to us. So there we go. What else was I going to yak about here? You'll be happy to know that my battery power is running down. I had to mess around and get this mic configured. It took me some time, so I'm out of battery power almost. When I bring my computer out here, I just unplug it, and I don't really rarely ever bring the adapter out here to the reloading room because I don't need it. Surely I'm not going to talk for 3 hours. But I see it's dwindling. So that is my loss is your gain. You don't have to listen maybe as long. How's that? See, there was something else I was going to talk about. Yeah, maybe a little bit about the weather. As weather changes, here I go, talking about carry guns again. I'm sorry, guys, gals, and other parts of the world, but in the United States now, wow, we can carry in just about any state. It's harder now and still in a few, but so many people. I think it's up to 10 million now in that vicinity of folks who have carry permits. And if you do carry, even you folks who cannot, you can probably appreciate some of the difficulty as weather changes and clothing, attire changes. It's pretty simple to carry almost anything you want in the wintertime. You're wearing a jacket, maybe a big coat. You always have some outer garment you're wearing. But when it comes down to shorts and a t-shirt, it's a different proposition. That big 5-inch 1911 is not quite as easy to carry, even though there are those who will say they always carry it. My guess is they don't always carry it. They do carry it some, but my guess is if you follow them around 24/7, you'd see them a lot of times without it if they're in shorts and a t-shirt. But it does make it more difficult, and a lot of you probably, like me, you're rethinking your carry gun. So I know that's always an issue. It also is one thing that makes a pocket carry, pocket holster, more of a desirable object right now to be looking for, isn't it? And a lot of people do switch to a smaller gun, smaller caliber sometimes for the summer. It's just the way it is. And of course, there are those who criticize uh, quite quickly on that topic because they think you should always be carrying a big gun. But the reality of it is, it's better to have a pea shooter than no shooter. And gun is a gun. And the old 380, the small 9 millimeters, they tend to reign in the summer. They really do. Uh, I like pocket holsters. There are other options, but it's something we're all going through right now. And I know if you're new to firearms, it might be the first time you've gone through that. You might have just gotten your first carry gun this winter, and you've got it all situated. Finally got the perfect holster, and you're just getting used to carrying. Got your permit recently, and just getting into it. And all of a sudden, it's 90 degrees. And you're looking for a t-shirt instead of that jacket, and you're thinking, uh-oh, what am I going to do now? So look around, and there are lots of good holsters. There are lots of good pocket holsters. There are even holsters that do just fine with a pretty good size gun if you wear your t-shirt out. One of the problems I have is I just don't feel as comfortable with my t-shirt out. Now that is old school, I realize. And I came up through the old days and playing basketball. Well, it's still that way now, but uniforms have changed. I remember, oh man, if your shirt tail was out, even in practice or anywhere, it was in basketball back in the 60s, 70s, you're in trouble. And people just tucked their shirt tails in, their shirts in back then. So I just don't feel comfortable. That's what it is. I don't care. You can tell that. I care very little about fashion, but I just don't feel as comfortable with my shirt tail out. I don't know, it's weird. And it does provide a lot of carry options, though, if you do. And I have tried it, and I've tried it. You might see me with my shirt tail out. It will mean I have finally succumbed to it, and I have opened up my carry options in the summertime by doing it. But it's just hard. I mean, there are times when I think about even going back to the old photographer's vest, which I used to wear when I first started carrying quite often, before it became so common and everybody knew that that was the reason you're wearing a photographer's vest. Which is no big deal. I don't really care if people suspect or think I'm carrying a gun. Heck, so many people are. It's like, duh. Oh, but that guy's carrying a wallet. Yeah, he's carrying a wallet. I bet he's carrying a gun. I bet he's packing. Yeah, what else? What else is new is what I was trying to say there. Believe it or not, had a little technical difficulties. Probably because, well, yes, because of the new microphone and everything. This is actually the next day where I'm picking up, believe it or not. I think I was talking about carrying and wearing a vest and not worrying if people can tell you're wearing a vest, and that sort of thing, or that you're carrying a gun. I mean, it depends on where you are and circumstances, of course, but I think even printing is less of an issue. Now, again, it depends on whether you're in a state where there are places still where it's uh, against the law, I think, technically, to show that you are carrying a firearm. I know in Tennessee when we first passed the law and got the permits that it didn't provide for open carry. And if your shirt fell away and someone saw your firearm, it was serious business. So all that's pretty silly now if you think on it. And hopefully every state will fix those little crevices in the law, eventually, because that's a big advantage of open carry. That's one reason we have open carry in Tennessee. That solved that problem. So I can just take off my shirt and display my firearm and go to the grocery today if I want to. I don't do that. I don't. I see advantages to concealed carry. The advantages outweigh the disadvantages, I think. And so anyway, that's just, so there are 500,000 people in Tennessee with carry permits. They, how many more are carrying without a carry permit? How many bad guys are carrying? Of course, the whole purpose for uh, passing laws to allow, don't you hate the word allow when it's in the Constitution, but people to bear arms is because bad guys are going to bear arms, whether it's legal or not, whether there's a constitution or not. So anyway, but so 500,000 people are carrying in Tennessee, and about 10 million around the country, I think. So, like, duh, is it a big news flash if I think someone's carrying a firearm? Wow. Oh, how dangerous, how scary. Oh, that's what's funny about the uh, oh, the anti-gunners or people who are so afraid of firearms, and they're so taken aback if they see someone like open carrying, or they just know that someone's carrying a firearm. Somebody, it's like scary to them. And of course, the open carry is what brings that to a head because there are so many clueless folks out there, ignorant about firearms, that if they see somebody in Walmart or the grocery store and they have an open carry, a pistol on, and are obviously not law enforcement or anything, then they're like, wow, they go into shock. There are people like that, and a lot of them are just troublemaker anti-gunners, and they're trying to cause trouble for us. They'll call the police and try to make a big deal out of it, because they don't like the fact that it's legal. But then again, there are people that are just genuinely shocked by that. Wow, the guy's carrying a gun, or she has a gun in her purse. She's carrying a gun. Uh, well, I always say it's too bad in some ways that somehow I may have suggested this before, or at least floated the idea out there. Maybe, maybe it wouldn't be all that unwise for like one day a year for everybody who has a carry permit to, well, it's illegal to carry open in some states, but let's say in the United States, if every May the 1st or whatever, we probably make it a Saturday. Yeah, make it a Saturday, whatever the first Saturday is in some month. Everybody who carries, has a carry permit, they either carry open, or if it's legal where they are, or they I don't know what would be a thing, wear a hat that says I have a gun. I don't, something that makes it really obvious they are carrying a gun. something, even if it's illegal to carry open, maybe it's not illegal to have a sign on your back that says I have a gun. But if for that one day, everywhere you went, people knew you carried a gun, and it wouldn't just be you out there by yourself, uh, being self-conscious about it. There'd be a lot of people that, out there with you, right? Wherever you are, at the grocery, McDonald's, your restaurant, your just wherever you are, walking around that would be having their gun displayed or a sign that says they have a gun on. So it would be an education, wouldn't it? And that's my motivation for even coming up with that. It would be an education for the soccer moms of the world. And I use that term in a negative sense. Not anybody whose little kid plays soccer, but the people who are outraged and afraid of firearms, and they don't even because they don't realize. I think part of it is they don't realize how many people are carrying firearms. They just don't, especially if they live in their bubble. And it's a gunless bubble that they live in. Nobody in their family is a shooter, and that's hard to believe. There aren't many of those around. If they don't know anybody who shoots, they definitely don't know anybody who carries a gun. At least they think they don't know anybody who carries a gun. And that's kind of the point, isn't it? If some of those people who just are horrified that somebody would actually pack a firearm, because aren't guns really dangerous? I mean, they go off sometimes. They hurt people. But if they could just, it would be so enlightening to take one of those types of people, like to Walmart on that day, and I don't know, maybe every third person. It would depend on what state you're in, right? If you're in Texas or Tennessee, it might be every other person, would would be packing a gun on their belt, and they wouldn't need the sign. Well, yeah, they would in Texas, wouldn't they? Open carry with a handgun is not legal. But if there was some system for knowing, obviously, that the person has a firearm, okay, that's legal and wouldn't get them into trouble in Texas. And in Tennessee, we just carry open. But if that person walked into a Walmart in Tennessee or Texas, and you know, 50% of the people have a gun displayed, uh, or a sign. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the reaction would be. I would like to think it would be an enlightening event for them. It might just make them more angry. They might just totally lose it, right? But just the the to reveal. My point again is to reveal that all these good, law-abiding people out there in their daily course of events is packing a firearm. And they just don't realize it. I know a lot of intelligent people. I was in the education field. The education field is not known for being saturated with firearms, put it that way. Although I was in a more conservative situation in a private school, and so there weren't as many people afraid of firearms. But still, uh, they just a lot of them wouldn't get it either. They don't get it really. It doesn't register, I think, and that would be the point. If everybody had their gun on that day, it would finally have to register. It would. Oh, there's Uncle Bob. I didn't realize you carried a gun. People in their own families, of course, that maybe just didn't say anything, had not said anything about their carry permit, maybe in the training they had, gotten the permit. And then half the people they work with, if it was, that would be the only thing. In a lot of businesses, they wouldn't go for that, right? And they would not want guns in there in the workplace and all that thing. But in the ideal scenario, if that were okay too, in your corporate building and everywhere, anybody who's a permit and legal to carry was just packing their gun that day in a shoulder holster, chest holster, belt holster, whatever. Uh, walking around the business that day. I mean, so many people would be amazed, wouldn't they? They'd be really amazed. Oh my gosh, I'm living in Dodge City and I didn't know it. You know, but the most enlightening, there'd be two levels there, I guess. Well, at least a couple come to mind. One is the realization that so many people are carrying guns. and they hadn't even realized that. It just never did really register with them, even though they might see the statistics in the newspaper or whatever. And then the types of people, or the people who are carrying those guns, the very people they're working with, the very people they know and respect and like. It's not the Neanderthal redneck down the hall that no one talks to, or that is kind of a grumpy old man like me or something. It's my secretary. It's the lady in charge of the marketing department. It would be very, very enlightening, both in numbers and then in the individuals who are carrying and have carry permits and pack a firearm. So I don't know. Maybe it's an idea for some time, but just the concept of that. That is the issue. One of the issues for those folks in their bubble, their anti-gun bubble, and the folks they circulate with and talk to and associate with, their friends. They can sit around over drinks and bash guns and gun owners all they want, because it's as I've always said, shooting is kind of a hidden sport. You can't be, don't drive down the road and, oh, there's a shooting range there, just like a bowling alley or a golf range or something, golf club. It's hidden by the nature of it, because you need to be back somewhere a little bit away from people. If you're shooting, it's just, no one builds big elaborate shooting ranges, right in downtown unless it's indoors or something. So they're not as it's kind of a hidden sport. Now there are more indoor ranges and they're not as hidden, of course, but you know what I'm saying. And then of course carry, concealed carry is, oh, imagine that, concealed. It's fairly hidden. So it's a hidden activity, a hidden endeavor. And so it's just weird. It's what is it like? There's got to be a comparison here I can come up. I don't know. It's hard to think of something. I was starting to say it's like if you're a coin collector or something, and for some reason, you don't know that people collect coins, and I don't know. The numbers are bigger is a thing. It's almost like if for some reason, no, I was gonna say if you drive a pickup truck or something, and again, I'm not trying to associate pickup trucks with rednecks, but if the fact anybody who has a pickup truck it's a hidden fact or something, it stays in the garage for some reason, and people just don't drive them in public. That's stupid. I don't know. It's something bowling. I'd say there's more people who pack a firearm than probably bowl though. It's just something that is very prevalent. Shooters. It's almost like the number of people who go to church. What if for some reason churches were all like hidden back away and they weren't in public, and so no one really knew if you went to church, and no one talked about it ever or something. It would just be a hidden thing, so you wouldn't even know. Whereas if you walk around your company, probably at least half of the people there go to church. So anyway, it's just this gigantic number of people who do something, possibly on a regular basis, but yet, and partly because of the stigma that has been attached to it in the past, it was not talked about a lot. Now it is now. It's more mainstream, so that's not much of an issue now. But in the past it was. And so it's the kind of thing you didn't talk about. And of course, still in some circles, it's too scary to talk about. And people are a little reluctant to talk about it, maybe in their business too much. At least used to be. It depends what your business is. And again, you participate in it somewhere off, away from everybody, by and large. And if you carry one of these evil things, no one sees it. So it is a much a hidden activity, hidden sport, even still. And so it's just not in front of folks. It's just not out there in front of people. That's and anyway, I think that's a lot of it. Something you see every day, you generally get used to it, whatever it is, and you learn more about it, and you might even grow to accept it. You might even like it. You might even try it because it's out there in front of you, like a pickup truck. Maybe you don't really think you have any use for a pickup truck, but by gosh, a lot of people sure drive those things. I wonder why they do it. Are they all hauling stuff around all the time? What's the deal here? George over there, my neighbor, lives in the city. I don't really see him using it for hauling stuff much, but he has one. Yeah, and we sort of need a second or third car. I wonder if I might just do just as well to consider a pickup truck. A lot of them on, it's something that's out there, whereas guns in the past had not. Getting better, way more mainstream, and it's just a much better situation. So anyway, I don't know. I got to rambling there. Sorry about that. I may have to give you a refund. What could I call it? Kind of a rambling refund. Whenever my rambling exceeds the limit, whatever the limit is. I don't think I put a limit on myself on these things. I should. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the other I'm sorry, folks. Bad news is, I told you I had a technical issue there, and it ran a lot of my battery down before I started. Well, since I had to take a big pause there for about 10 hours, battery's charged. Now I'll wrap it up here before too long. Got to be another brilliant thing or two to talk about, though, right? One thing that, well, before I do it, I still don't know for sure what happened. I was just talking along, making some brilliant comment there about carrying in the vest and everything, and the Audacity meter just stopped. It stopped recording. I think I had not let the headphone charge enough. I think that's what it was. But who knows with technology? You know, you would think by this time, the year is what, 2012? No, no, it's 2015. I'm behind. Kentucky math again, Kentucky calendar. Um, you would think that almost everything would just be plug and play. I mean, come on. I go buy this set of earphones, got the little microphone on it. Okay, that'd be handy, a little more convenient. And stick it on my head and just start yakking and everything. Why would I not be able to just plug it into the computer, the USB port, and there it goes, I mean, it's just, I had to go to the Logitech uh, website, download drivers and all this stuff. And out here in the barn, I didn't have the internet access, and maybe it would have downloaded automatically. I don't think so. I had to go find it and download. Yeah, why aren't things just plug and play? I know with Apple you do get that, but you also get more control over everything you do, managing files and stuff, which drives me crazy. But you would think by now that we wouldn't have technical difficulties. Uh, I really, in some ways, think it's more, as I've talked about before, computers and phones and everything are almost more frustrating now than they were back in the very early days when I was one of the pioneers, really. I mean, you expected frustration and issues to work out. And I'm just not sure it's gotten any better. Of course, we always up the ante. We have more complex program systems and applications and everything else. So, anyway, such is life in the world of technology. One thing I was going to, yeah, maybe mention, I don't know how many questions I've gotten in the last oh, month about when you're going to get a Glock 43. Where's your Glock 43 video? When are you going to Glock 43 video? Well, we're waiting for it to come out. We really don't want to get guns early because if you're early, just like the magazine writers, it's really because they think you're going to write a positive article, or they're going to pay you to write a positive article, or I mean it's just difficult to do and be objective. So we're not going to do that. I remember having a discussion with Glock. They had a new PR person. This was about a year or so ago, and wanted to know how they could do things better. They were trying to improve some situations there. It was interesting, and they wanted me to call her, and not because they even know who I am, but I had to ask about some of that at the, I don't know, one of the NRA conventions or something, and gotten a name and some different things, and was just had some questions about T&E guns and things, and I understand she's gone already. That person I had a long conversation with, so I'm not surprised. But I, as I told her, is that we don't really want anything from Glock. Even though people think we're getting paid by Glock, all we want are T&E guns without having to go through all the paperwork each time you get one, and for Glock to pay the shipping. So both ways. Didn't think that's too much to ask, and none of that has come to fruition, of course. And there was a short discussion about getting guns early, being on the, what do they call it, the first look list or something like that, like some of the magazines are, and I don't know who else, but uh, and I thought at the time, yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, Glock deserves to do that for us, really. I've been a Glock guy for a long time, and we have a lot of Glock videos up, lots of views, and why not? They ought to be able to do that. But then the more I thought about it, I said, no, wait a minute, and I talked to John about that. We really don't want that, do we? Because that's really helping them launch their product. And how could you be really very honest about it? Truly honest about what you think about it. Because you're sort of in that camp with, we are the exclusive group. We're going to allow you this gun as soon as it's available, before it's released, and you can write an article about it or do a video. So anyway, we don't want to be a part of that. I was almost lured into it at first, but then realized no, 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 we don't want that. We can't have that. We do want to be objective. I have my biases, and we do get some sponsorship support, but not from any major manufacturer, anything that would put us in a position where we would either not be objective or we would appear not to be objective. Lots of things we turn down just because it would appear we're not going to be objective about it, and even though we would be. So anyway, we walk kind of a thin line there, I realize sometimes, but that's why we just mainly want stuff for T&E, and then if it's a donation, it's from a gun shop or something that's not going to put us in that position. So, but anyway, now I'll get a Glock 43 here one day, and I've had a couple different gun shops say they get us one to borrow or to use or keep or whatever. So we'll get one here in a few weeks probably. I think it's going to be actually starting to ship after the NRA convention. So we'll see, and I'll let you know what I think. Yay or nay? Well, actually, I don't give a yay or nay. I just look at what I like about it and what I don't like about it. My only fear of that gun is it's going to be, and I've not held one. I'll hold one here in a couple of days at the NRA convention, but my my fear is, yeah, it's going to be what we've been waiting for in a single stack 9, but it's going to be thick enough and big enough that I'm still going to prefer the Glock 26. I mean, if there's not much difference between it and the 26 in terms of weight and thickness, um, then I'm not going down to 6 rounds of 9, for a pocket gun. And then again, if it's not a pocket gun, then I am going with the 26, or sticking with the 26. So, it's that same old issue. Well, how much thinner is it than a Glock 26? How much lighter is it than a 26? And it's kind of like the Shield and those guns. I like all those guns, but the Shield, I think, is a little big for the pocket. I haven't had one in hand for a while. Well, it's like the 26 is a little big for the pocket. Some would say the LC9S is a little big for the pocket. I can carry it okay in my pocket. If this new Glock is no thicker than the LC9, yeah, it'd work in the pocket. Of course, going to be giving up a round. The LC9 carries 7 in the magazine, which I like. Now, when you get down to 5, 6, 7 rounds, each one of those increments is really big because it's such a small. Now, if you got it, again, 15 rounds versus 16 rounds is almost not a big deal at all. It's nothing. But when you're talking about, 4 versus 5 or 5 versus 6, 6 versus 7, that's a big difference. So that gun would have to have some advantages. Well, we'll see how it feels and all of that when it comes out. It is a Glock, so that's in its favor. Hopefully they've got it finished when it comes out. Unlike the 42, apparently it was released early and they've had to fix it. That happens so often with gun companies. The LC9, same way, LC9S. Apparently, there's a problem with the recoil spring, and I don't know. There's some stuff on the internet about people having trouble with their magazines and the ammo in the magazine spring. I don't know how truthful. I haven't experienced that. John has with one some, so I don't know. There may be something to that. So I don't know. It's a jungle out there. People are anxious to get their guns released and don't really thoroughly test them sometimes. So that's disturbing. I made a comment on a video just not long ago to that effect, and in answering somebody, I am. I tell you, I seriously contemplated just going back to my old 5-shot Smith & Wesson Centennial Model 642 38 Special, with a 2-inch barrel or inch and a half, whatever it is, as far as a pocket gun, and just forget, all these others, particularly if you're just going to have 6 or 7 rounds anyway. So I don't know, but revolvers begin to look better and better to me all the time. Well, they always have. I love them, but I give them up for extra capacity and quicker reloads and usually a thinner firearm. But man, I tell you, I don't know. That still, after all these years, I just do not think there is that perfect pocket pistol in a semi-automatic. So I don't know. It could be the car's pretty close, and there's some good ones, but it seems like every one of them has some issue that keeps it from being 100% reliable. So we'll see. Well, anyway, as I better wrap this up. I'm rambling too long. And how could somebody talk so much and have so little to say? It's pretty amazing, isn't it? But I've enjoyed chatting with you, even though you've been fairly quiet today and yesterday, and hope to see some of you, and I'm sure I will, at the NRA convention. And as I always say, I expect you to say hi. You're never bothering me when we're out, gun shows or anywhere like that. You guys are what make it possible, and appreciate you being there and watching. And even you haters, I appreciate, well, haters are probably not listening to the radio show, but we really appreciate the haters, because you know what it means when you have haters. It means that you are doing something right and you've maybe accomplished something. So the more haters, the better, even though they're annoying. But really do appreciate you all listening, and hope to run into a bunch of you at the NRA convention. If not, maybe somewhere else on the road of life. So enjoy your firearms. Remember, you don't have to have a lot of firearms. You don't even have to have the best firearms. But if you have firearms that you like and you enjoy and that work for you, and you're there. And they're just so much fun to shoot, to take apart, to clean, to just inspect and study how they work, and clean and shoot, clean and shoot. Did I say that? Yeah. So you all take care, and again, we really are glad you're out there listening and watching. And we'll try not to bore you too much, but I'm sure it will happen sometimes. Life is good.
You've been listening to the Hickok 45 radio show. See you on the range.